So, good evening, everyone. We'll begin with VARC session 30 today. So, precisely, I'll take you through. We'll actually start with where we left yesterday, and we'll proceed on from there. And again, as we did some really good, vocab questions yesterday, we'll do some of them today itself. So, without much delay, let me start. Please let me know who all are there. Okay. Okay. So all of you, very good evening. I'm Siddhi Bangard. I did my MBA in HR from XLRI. I did my BE from BIT Mesra, and in between I mentored students, taught students, and worked in the corporate. So these were all the exams I appeared for in 2016, my maiden attempt when I got into Excel. And please join this group so that you remain updated about all these sessions, or follow me on Unacademy to remain updated about my classes on Unacademy platform. Good evening, Prasanna, and good evening, Mishra. You'll be Mishra 2 from now onwards because somebody claimed Mishra 1. All right. Mishra, all good? Hunky dory? Sleepyhead, are you good? Awake? All right. So I'm already running my course, which is GK for all MBA exams, especially the static GK part, right? So the course is covering topics related to Indian history, art and culture, Indian economy, Indian geography, Indian polity, and corporate GK and international organizations, which are actually the 7 subsets of what the entire GK hoopla is all about when it comes to MBA exams. So I decided let's launch a course and do it in one single course so that you don't have to run in 5 different directions to get things about them. So at least you'll benefit with all the CSE knowledge that I gathered. With that, we also have dedicated doubt and summary sessions. I'm having one on coming Sunday, I guess. We have already done the corporate GK part. You can go and watch the videos. I had the Indian geography class today. So the classes are happening on alternative days. You can go and visit the Indian geography content also. It's some really great content. You can see the ratings. And my students are very happy with my teaching, but very sad that they have to learn it too much. And the lectures are already live. So this is the course page. You can go and check the entire schedule of the course, the way it is structured. Everything is there on the Unacademy course structure. It's a plus course, which means that you'll have to get the plus subscriptions, which because I am there and I can offer you some relief on the course fee. So you can get a 10% off by using my code SBUS. For 12 months, the fee is 15,750, and for 24 months, it's 18,900. If you're preparing for MBA 2020 or CAT 2020 or whatever exam in 2020 for 2020, a 3-month subscription to Unacademy or a 6-month subscription to Unacademy will be very beneficial to you, because by then you will have completed all your examinations. There are actually a lot of new courses coming up which will help you prepare for your interviews, etc. also in a better manner. I'll be there. I'll be handling the interviews part also, going further when you have done with your written examinations. So all in all, a very beneficial proposition. With that, you can join us on YouTube or on Telegram on the CAT4MBA channel. But most importantly, the agenda for today is paragraph completion and vocabulary. Vocabulary we'll do like we did yesterday. As I promised you, every single day we'll add new words to our vocab. And paragraph completion, we'll start with where we left yesterday. We did question number 11 and 12 when it came to completing the paragraph in between. So we'll start with that. So good evening, Sayani. Good evening, Vedehi, right? All right. Yes, Sayani. Hello again. So, Vedehi, I'm seeing you after a while. What took you so long to come to my class? भाई इतने दिन कहाँ गए थे, क्या किया? मतलब वो बोलते हैं ना, तुम्हें याद किया, तेरा नाम लिया. What happened with you, Vedehi? मेरा नाम लिया, मुझे याद किया? Or you just remembered me आज ही कि चलो ठीक है, आज मैम को थोड़ा दिखाते हैं. Okay. So we finished with this question and we'll move on to this part. Question number 13. You guys remember what we were supposed to do? Mishra is like, yes, Vedehi, I do remember. I remember all my students' name. I never forget anybody. That's why, that's what a teacher is supposed to do. If I forget my students, then okay. Great work, Vedehi. And Mishra is answering questions on everybody's behalf. He's super energetic. He just had a nap. So with that, question number 13 on your screens, what you're supposed to do, since we are continuing from what we left yesterday, there is a blank in between the passage, right? So you have to find the sentence which best fills the blank in the passage. I'll give you 3 minutes, right? So this 45-second clock is going to run for 6 times to read the passage as well as tell me the option which best fits in this passage. And a hint for this question, please follow the grammar. That will be your best fit. All right. So everybody, are we good? Should we start? Sab changa hai? Chalo, let's start. .5 minutes over. All right. 13-2. Okay. Stuti says 1. Mishra says 1. Okay. Last 45 seconds. Does anybody want to reconsider this? Did you guys check the grammar? He's talking about our nation lost a hero and this family lost a loved one. He's talking collectively. Which is that one sentence which talks about collective loss out of these 4 choices? Yes. Right? So should it not be option number 3? Everybody? Mishra, Sayani, Vedehi, Stuti, Prasanna? Prasanna answered correctly. See, basically if you look at this entire passage, somebody is saying that maybe we had a martyr and they said something which was not very appropriate, and what he instead wanted to say was that yes, the nation lost a hero, the family lost a loved one, and if given a chance again, that person would actually address his grief or tell about his grief in a better manner. So having said that, all the four can actually fit in here except for the fourth one, because first you've written our nation lost a hero and then you can't again use the same words. Our nation has lost its precious treasure. So fourth option will definitely not be there. If you talk about 1, 2 and 3, so since we are doing passages, it would be advisable that it connects with the line above it and the line that follows it, right? The line that follows it, all the three can be there, but the line which is above it, it actually talks about a collective loss. So the line that indicates a collective loss is actually option number 3, and that is why it will be option number 3, which is the correct answer. Otherwise, it could have been any one of the three. All three make a lot of sense here. Is that clear? Is that okay? Everybody? आगे चले? Okay, fine then. Let's come to question number 14. This is a little longer and this is a little bit tougher. Okay? This is a little bit tougher than what we have done so far. The passage is very easy to understand. It's about the leadership of Xi Jinping, right? So, but the options are a little difficult to fill in up. So, use elimination and it's a little difficult. That's all I can say. So, let's start your time. 1.5 minutes over. Last 1.5 minutes. Okay. Everybody feels it's 3. AJ, I'm seeing you after like ages. Tawari is back. Bhatt says option number 4. Close call. Last 45 seconds. Okay. Anybody else with a different opinion on this case? Anybody wants to go with option number 1? And okay, last 5 seconds. All right, so time's up. Okay, interestingly, did you understand the passage? The passage is about this person, the new person, Xi Jinping. He's trying to model China the way Mao Zedong or Deng Xiaoping did. So I don't know if you guys know about a little bit about the history of China. So I'll just give a background here, since I taught India-China relations, international relations. So Mao Zedong, not such a good person. Deng Xiaoping is actually responsible for all the reforms that you see in China. Mao Zedong was a different kind of a dictatorship. It was during his time that there took a cultural revolution which pulled back China a significant number of years back, and it was a massacre of the intelligentsia of China. That is what happened during the Mao Zedong era. Then came Deng Xiaoping. So during his time, he was the one who actually opened up China to new possibilities. He reformed the entire system. He liberalized the economy. He made businesses easier. He believed in the freedom of people, the freedom to make the choices, which actually led country to a very, very significant economic recovery and what we see in China as of now. Now, this person, G, they are saying he has dragged China backwards in terms of political and economic liberalization. So the entire passage is about two things. First, what Xi has done and how has it impacted China's prospects in terms of politics and economic liberalization on going further. Like earlier there was much economic liberalization, now it is lesser, or there was more political freedom earlier, now it is lesser. So that is what they are talking about. That's the entire crux of the idea before the dash. Till yahan pe, we are discussing how his leadership has pushed back the entire political and economic gains that China made during the previous two regimes. With that, the next passage after this line, it actually explained how he did that. You know, he actually eliminated everybody who might have opposed him and thus self-anointed himself as the most important leader, or whose thought should actually steer the Chinese economy or Chinese politics, right? Now, if that is the crux of the passage, ठीक है, इसलिए मैंने बोला था थोड़ा सा difficult है, so just follow it. नहीं समझ आता है, ask me again. So if that is the crux of the passage, definitely the sentence joining them, ठीक है, because both the passages above and below, they talk about how his leadership has brought in change in China. So they are basically not talking about what Xi Jinping did, right? Or they are not talking about Xi Jinping per se. So option number 2 is thus eliminated. That he is the uncrowned emperor. Why? Because if he had to put this line, then it should have come after, you know, this line that he anointed himself as the co-leader, blah blah blah, and his thought will become the guidelines for the Chinese constitution. After that, maybe you could have this line, but not before. So option 2 is eliminated. AJ, is it clear? Let's come to 3. Today, the collegiality and sharing of power that stood China in good stead since Deng Xiaoping's passing in 1997 have been shaken by Xi's historic power grab. As I told you, we are not talking about Xi here. We are talking about the implications of his leadership here. That's what they want to talk about. If you look at the passage, if you look at the line before it, right, they are talking about whatever he has done has taken China backwards, and he has put a brake on the liberal understanding of China progressively, blah blah blah. If you look at option 1, don't you think it actually tells us what effect it has had, like in very concrete terms? You say that somebody has took China back to, you know, ages before where it was. And thus now the China, what it looks like is basically just a pale shadow of what they had achieved in the past. So it's kind of carrying on the theme that we were strictly talking about in the passage right before the sentence. Is it understandable? Are we clear, or you have doubts why it cannot be option number 3? Because we are not talking about how Xi has acted. We are talking about what implications it had for China. क्लियर है जिन लोगों ने भी आंसर्स दिए? ये थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है. मिश्रा, स्तुति, एजे, प्रसन्ना, सयानी, are you guys with me or lost interest? अच्छा ठीक है. And last, you don't have to keep quiet, वैदेही. It is okay. Speak up, because नहीं पूछोगे तो कभी पता नहीं चलेगा कि गलत क्या हुआ है. ठीक है, आराम से बात करो. Last, it is the harbinger of a new kind of dictatorship in the 21st century. Yes, first and fourth are very, very close contenders. ठीक है? It also talks about the leadership style of Xi, and this talks about the implications. Now, I want you to do one thing. Don't you think that option number 4 should be more of a conclusion after we have finished the entire passage talking about how this person is doing, what he is doing, how he is acting in a manner that he is concentrating all the power in his hands, and finally the last sentence could be, it is the harbinger of a new kind of dictatorship in the 21st century, or should it be in the middle? You only tell me. Does it not look like a conclusive sentence? Whereas the first one is carrying over the theme of the passage above it. Fourth option looks like, when we have described everything what Xi has been doing, we can put it as a fitting conclusion that yes, whatever he has been doing, harbinger means a beginning. So whatever he has done is a beginning of a new kind of dictatorship in the 21st century. It's okay, AJ. Tiwari, which part did you not get? Can you please write it down? I'll explain it to you again. Which part is not understandable? Acha, Tiwari, did you understand why 2 and 3 cannot be the answers? Akansha? Let me know. 2 and 3 will not be the answers. Did you get that? Because we're not talking about G. Okay. So where do you have confusion? Don't you think if you read option number 4 again, what are we talking here? We are talking that G has been power grabbing everything. He is trying to make China into his own personal fiefdom. Fiefdom is a word used for your own kingdom or your own territory. So when he is trying to do that, does option number 4 not look like a proper conclusion? You tell everything about him, that he's done this, he's changed the constitution, blah blah blah, and then finally you write that yes, it looks like it is the beginning of a new dictatorship in China. Yes? Tiwari, is it clear to you now? Let me know. If it is not clear, we'll come back to it. Okay. And somebody please tell me the meaning of the word quinquennial. All right? Quinquennial. What does this mean? थोड़ा बहुत समझ आया है? कोई दिक्कत नहीं है तिवारी. After the class, remind me. I'll discuss it with you again. ठीक है? So quinquennial, can anybody tell me the meaning of this word? And in the meanwhile, question number 15 on your screens. Yes, Akansha, we'll discuss that. Okay, So quinquennial, nobody is actually telling me that. Quin means 5. Yes, Tuti, you're right. Quin means 5, so every 5 years. Just like we have elections every 5 years. All right, 1.5 minutes over. This should be an easy one. This is extremely easy. Last 45 seconds. Everybody goes with 3. Last 45 seconds. Whether he goes with 2. 45 seconds hai abhi bhi. Make your choices. Sarani goes with option number 1. मिश्रा रिट्रैक्ट कर लिया तूने, क्या हो गया? ये काफी आसान पैसेज है. ओके, आई गेस हमें कंप्लीशन में अभी भी दिक्कत आ रही है. ओके, तो ये मेरा फेलियर है बिकॉज आई हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू टीच यू प्रॉपरली. वील फिगर आउट अ वे टू डू दिस and we'll figure out a way to do this right. So let's see. Okay, time's up. Let's discuss. Instead of me telling you the answer, I'll just discuss. See, they're talking about, till here, what are they talking about? They are saying that India has a very great advantage of people, a lot of people having, a lot of people using spoken English, or a lot of people speaking in English. Because of that, a lot of opportunities have opened up for us. We have an edge in sciences and IT and in humanities. Why? Because our people can go out, work with the Europeans, the US people, where the most cutting edge technology work is going on, right? So they are talking about the advantages of English and how the British rule gave us an extra edge when it comes to language. Is that okay? Prasanna, you're correct. It's option number 4, which is the correct answer. You're right. Now, talking about the passage after the blank. However, you see, our politicians, a lot of politicians, they actually routinely advocate the use of Hindi over English, and that's actually okay, or a regional language over Hindi. However, what they are preaching, they are not actually following it up with. So they say that people should, we should prefer our regional languages, or we should prefer Hindi. However, when it comes to their own children, they actually go ahead and get their children the best English education possible. So this person, the person who's written the passage, says that in the globalizing world, English has opened many doors for us. And if any government actually wants to endeavor to do something, then they should actually make it a point that people get good speaking skills, which is still rare, and they should not link language to pride or culture. See, the reason why we see English as a pride and culture is because of the colonial mindset. We felt that they were superior to us because they knew this language and we didn't. So it's just a matter of convenience that most of the technology or the science and technology work or the humanities work is being done in those countries. So we'll need to speak their languages, and as we become more powerful, maybe they'll start using ours. But given the current scenario, I think it is there to remain for a certain amount of time. Having said that, did you understand that there was a change in the tone of the passage? Earlier, you're talking about the advantages of the language. In the latter half of the passage, after the blank, you're talking about how people are using it for selfish gains, right? There's a change in the mood. Now, tell me if option number one fits in. Why should it fit in? Since Indians speak so many languages, a link language will be required, and for many people it is English, not Hindi. Now, our politicians routinely use language blah blah blah, and they ask you to do something in regional Hindi, regional language or Hindi. So even if you wanted to put sentence number one would come after the introduction of this thought that politicians want you to use regional language or Hindi. However, since Indians speak so many languages, a link language will be required. For many people, it is English and not Hindi. Then it would have made sense, but not before this sentence. Alright? Yes, Sayani, it does. But keep listening to me. Abhi ek baar baat sun le, theek hai? Uske baad I'll answer your doubt. First option cannot be there. Second, what it says is, the demand for English is evident from the number of schools which promise a good English education. Okay? So this might actually go in continuation with this, but the next is, our politicians routinely blah 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 use this. Now, this statement is not relating to the statement that follows it. If you are putting a statement in middle, it should become a mandatory pair sequence with a statement that precedes it and with the statement that follows it. Is that okay? That is one of the reasons second wala bhi nahi aayega. We are never talking about the schools, and if we are talking about the schools in the middle of the passage, then we should have continued talking about it aage bhi. theek hai? So that is what is not being done here. If he's talking about schools for English education, that is okay. But the kind of schools the politicians are talking about, they're not talking about schools for English education. They are simply saying that replace the language with a regional language or Hindi. So option 2 falters here. Now, if that doesn't happen, this doesn't happen, let's come to option number 3. In this globalizing world, English opens many doors, blah, blah, blah. And it's a thriving industry imparting spoken English to those trying to secure jobs abroad. It's a negative sentence, yes. But is it good enough negative that it should continue with our politicians telling us that, for patriotism, you should start using a different language? Because the idea given in sentence number 3, which is that English has led to a thriving industry of English coaching institutes, and the idea given here that English should not be used because it affects our patriotism, are very different ideas. They will never go together, right? So it cannot be the sentence there. Now, as I told you, there is a change in mood. In the first para, we talk about the advantage we have had because of English and why China is realizing that advantage and it wants to do better. So it might be fast catching up. And the next passage talks about a different tone, that politicians are using it to divide the country on the basis of patriotism, but that shouldn't happen. So option number 4, look at the change in the tone. Since these two passages are different, look at the change in the tone. But now, thanks to language chauvinism, that's why I told you a good vocab is must. Chauvinists are people who kind of shove their opinions on other people. They feel they are morally or intellectually superior. That's why we talk about male chauvinism most of the times when we talk about a patriarchal society. And hectic efforts by countries like China. Now, if you have to select it directly, I gave you the entire explanation. But if you don't feel it is necessary, the direct way to eliminate the options is, this is the only option which is talking about China and India's comparison with China, which is being done in the first half of the passage. That yes, thanks to the language chauvinism and hectic efforts by countries like China to promote English, we do stand in a danger of losing the advantage we have had till now. Is that okay? Sayani, does that handle your doubt? That is the reason. Sayani, मिश्रा, एवरीबडी, या किसी को डाउट है अभी भी तो बताओ. चाइना के बारे में पहले बात हुई है, चाइना के बारे में अब बात हो रही है. एंड देयर इज अ change in tone in the two sentences. There is no other sentence which can connect sentence before it and sentence after it like the way option number 4 does. ये तो बहुत ही clear cut choice है. Is everybody able to follow me? I'm not getting any replies. कोई दिक्कत है तो बताओ. नहीं बताओगे तो मुझे पता नहीं चलेगा, because there's no other way we can interact. Mishra is doing fine. Vedehi, Stuti, Prasanna, Tiwari, you still having problems? Or you understood this one? Okay, so I'll move on to the more happening part of the class today. ठीक है, ये थोड़ा सा हमारे लिए बोरिंग था, अब थोड़ा हैपनिंग पार्ट पे चलते हैं. सो द हैपनिंग पार्ट इज, यूल बी लाइक मैम ये पिक्चर्स क्यों लगाई हैं, अभी बताती हूँ. ठीक है, सो योर फर्स्ट वर्ड इज हैंडसम. चूज द वर्ड क्लोजेस्ट इन द मीनिंग टू द गिवन इन बोल्ड. फर्स्ट वर्ड इज हैंडसम. I have 45 seconds for you to answer this. All right, 45 seconds to 1 minute. Take your time, figure out a way, but don't Google. मिश्रा, तेरे को क्रक्स और टोन ओके यार मिश्रा, ये तूने ना थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया है. टोन फाइंड करने का तो फिर भी आसान तरीका है. ऑल राइट तिवारी, ऑल राइट. मिश्रा, टोन फाइंड करने का तरीका ये है, लुक एट द वर्ड्स. देयर आर सर्टेन वर्ड्स व्हिच आर पॉजिटिव. इफ यू से somebody is handsome, it's a positive thing that you're saying. If you're using but, however, that means you are opposing the view, right? Or you have a different form of opinion. So tone is mostly something which you will gauge from the way the words have been written, the context where the words have been used. So mostly vocab part will handle the tone part of that. Crux is, I would advise, if you really want to improve it, जब भी passage पढ़े, because there is no shortcut way of doing it. Either the last line of the passage, usually वो थोड़ा crux type होता है, or the beginning line of the passage, they must be talking about the same idea. So उससे थोड़ा सा idea लग जाता है. That's the only cheat sheet you have. Otherwise थोड़ा सा practice करेंगे. Maybe if you want, we'll do some questions on the crux and tone of the passage. So that will help you understand things better. ठीक है? Okay. So with that, your time starts now. Prasanna, you'll have to give me a more concrete example. या तो तू मुझे कोई पैसेज भेज देना ग्रुप पे, I'll check the passage. ठीक है, उसको देख के पता चलेगा. Because there are a lot of negative words which you can use. Cynical means you doubt something. You know, you're not very sure if it is going to work. For example, अभी जैसे हम when Russia's vaccine was released, Sputnik, ठीक है, since उसने first stage trials ही किए थे and the rest of the trials were not done, people were very cynical about it. Right? Because there was no proof. There was no research behind it. So that is the time when you are cynical. So you'll have to give me an example, because the words, there is a very little difference between the words and the context. So that will be on a case by case basis. All right, Tawari, we'll do that. Vedehi, do those passages where you're more comfortable. The idea is, depends on the time. If you have very less time, तब तो कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते हैं. Easy passage के 1-2 questions answer कर सकते हैं. That's what I used to do if I had very less time. If you have a good understanding over short but difficult ones, go for them. Otherwise, I would always say the end, the result of your exam has to be you scoring marks. So you have to judge that कि कहाँ से मेरे को ज़्यादा नंबर मिल सकते हैं. अगर long passage आधा पढ़ के भी you're able to answer 2-3 questions, go for it because every mark counts. All right. Okay, so time's up. Mishra is the only person who answered me. Rest people were waiting for me to tell you the answer, और वो कैब से बोर हो गए हैं. Okay, there is one more thing. Everybody 1A? All right. What was that? Everybody sitting with a pen and paper as I asked you to do in my class. Sit with a pen and paper and take notes. हाँ हाँ मिश्रा, तू बोर नहीं हुआ है, मुझे पता है. तो बड़ा मन लगा के पढ़ाई करता है मिश्रा. ठीक है. So let's note it down. Handsome, the word is Adonis. Option number A. If anybody is following the pattern from yesterday, I have changed the pattern. I know my students are very smart. They are preparing for CAT, so they are very, very smart. Krunal, crux and tone hota hai. Crux is the main point of the passage, and tone is whether somebody, how you feel when you're writing about something. ठीक है? Are you negative about the entire opinion that you have put? Are you positive about the entire opinion you have put in the passage? So that's the tone of the passage. ठीक है? Okay, so yes, it's Adonis, and you know where did I hear the name first time? I heard the name first time when I was looking up for the 10 most handsome people in the world, and the word Adonis was actually used for Mr. Hrithik Roshan. People keep saying he has Greek godlike looks. So I thought, why not bring some glamour and glitz to our boring classes, English classes. So that's why I got you 3 handsome men. I don't know who's the middle one. Is he Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans? Chris Hemsworth is Captain America, right? This is Robert Pattinson, the one from Twilight. This is our own Hrithik Roshan. This guy I don't clearly know. So I really need to watch those Avengers wala series again. Nonetheless, Adonis means somebody who's very handsome. So actually, the god of love fell in love with Adonis. He's also a Greek god. Oh, he's Tom Cruise, is it? Thanks, Krunal. Okay. So Adonis means handsome. ठीक है भाई, अब थोड़ा ध्यान अपनी टीचर पे भी दे लो. She is not handsome. She is okay looking, but you can listen to her. All right. Now, there are other words called martinet, hucklery, and vile. So, martinet is somebody who's a strict disciplinarian. Your parents, you might have somebody in your family who's like very punctual, a strict disciplinarian. Oh, that reminds me of that. Have you guys seen the movie Mohabbatein? I think most of us might have seen the movie Mohabbatein. I don't know if you are from my generation or not. So if you have seen that movie Mohabbatein, Amitabh Bachchan was a martinet, Anushasan, Pratishtha, Anushasan, something, something, something. So, Pratishtha, Parampara, Anushasan. So, those kind of people are martinets. Remember AB from Mohabbatein. Right? Then the next is hucklery. Hucklery is the antonym of Adonis. Somebody whose hucklery is ugly or unpleasant. God, I get to write on the chest of Hrithik Roshan. My God. Okay, so hucklery is ugly or unpleasant, right? Unattractive. Somebody is hucklery looking, or this pudding tastes hucklery or unpleasant. So that's your word. Antonym for Adonis. Last is vile. Also an antonym for Adonis. Usually it is used for mood or taste. So, for example, we as children often have the habit of not disturbing our parents when they are in a vile mood. You actually sense their mood. You're like, okay, my father is in a vile mood. It's not a good time to ask for more money or to actually ask for going out with your friends. When you remember that DDLJ moment when Amrish Puri used to come in and she used to understand her father's moods. So she started praying in the morning to get him into a better mood. Alright, so that's while. So Adonis has two antonyms, Hucklery and wild. Martinet is somebody who's a strict disciplinarian. Alright, people usually from the army backgrounds. Now, let's come to the second option for today, cheat. Okay, so find the closest synonym to cheat. And थोड़ा glamour के बाद we'll have something else also. उसमें भी बहुत मजा आएगा. I have some more glamour for you. Okay, 2 is C, naivete. Anybody else with a different opinion here? All those who are joining new. Option number 2, in question number 2, for cheat, you have to give me the synonym to cheat out of the 4 options A, B, C, D. Okay, Miss Bhatt has amazing English, or maybe she has amazing knowledge of Christian mythology. Yes, Miss Bhatt, it is Judas. Somebody who's called a Judas is the Indian version of Vibhishan. ठीक है? वो बोलते हैं ना, विभीषण ने लंका जलाई. So Judas was this guy who betrayed Jesus Christ. It said for 30 pieces of silver, he told about Jesus Christ. He's one of the 12 apostles that you see in the Last Supper. ठीक है? Apostles are your disciples, जैसे बुद्ध के थे. Is that okay? So option number B is the correct answer. Sayani also got this correct. I'm so sorry. Sayani was the first one and Bhatt also answered it correctly. So Judas is the word. If you call somebody a Judas, that means that person is a traitor, that person can deceive or betray his friend at any point of time. Like we had in Battle of Plassey, like we had in Battle of Buxar. The Wazirs of the Nawab, they cheated him, they betrayed him and sided with the British. Okay? So they were the Judas. Now, candor, I have a photo for you here, so I'll show it to you. Some more glamour and glitz to our classes. This is Ladies versus Ricky Behel. So, he is supposed to be one of the best con man. Do you remember? The movie is all about him being a con man. Actually, मुझे नटवरलाल की फोटो लगानी चाहिए थी, अमिताभ बच्चन's movie. So, cheat का synonym is Judas. All right. Now, antonyms is a person who's not very sharp enough. One is naivete. Naivete is a person who's very simple, naive, innocent, gullible. ठीक है? Mishra has seen, Sayani hasn't seen. So Sayani, even I don't watch all the movies. What I do is I go on Wikipedia and read the plot. I really don't have the patience to watch an entire movie. Especially these conman types. I feel very scared and afraid. So that's what I do. You can do a similar thing. You'll cover a lot of ground that ways. Okay? So naivete, ingenuous again means somebody who's very innocent, very naive, very gullible, right? Somebody who's not initiated into the ways of the world. So that's there. And candor is somebody who's very frank. Somebody who speaks with a lot of candor is very frank, who's very open-minded, open-hearted, is a person who's candid. Okay? Oh, is it a crab? Thank God I saved my time. AJ says it's a crab. Okay, then I saved my time. But Band Baja Barat was good. I like that movie. So, you have candor also here. Candor is a close one to ingenuous and naivete. Is that okay? So, we did 4 more words here. Cheat is somebody who's being a Judas in your group. Naivete, ingenuous are people who who are very innocent, very gullible. Candor means somebody who's very frank or very candid. Okay. Now, let's move to question number 3. All right. So your time starts now. Actually, I couldn't find a very close comparison in Bollywood to somebody who's very opinionated. But I did get you a picture there, so I'll show it to you. Okay, time's up. Any idea? ये वाले words थोड़े आसान हैं. You might have heard about prosaic, unpretentious. Pretentious actually brings me to the memory pretentious movie reviews by that guy Biswarath. I haven't seen that, Ashutosh. In fact, vocab बहुत कम आने लगी है. So except for TIS, you do use some vocab. IIFT, yes. MyCat में भी थोड़ा बहुत. It is there. But direct words नहीं है. But there is no other way I can teach you vocab. That's the thing. Okay, next picture. I'll show you the next picture. Anybody wants to answer this one? Opinionated? Opinionated person is somebody who is very strong in his or her views, and they have an air of superiority about themselves. They wouldn't, really change the way they think. So these people are very opinionated. It's a very negative connotation. All right. So unpretentious is actually the opposite of this. ठीक है? All right, Sayani. So it's not option number B. It's actually option number C. Mishra is correct. Pontifical. So let's just go and check out the picture and then I'll tell you why. So I have this lady here. So apologies if anybody is offended. I couldn't think of a better picture. So opinionated, as I told you, the synonym is pontifical. Pontification actually relates to something to do with the Pope. All right. So if you're talking about a Pope, he's very didactic, he's very preachy. They are there to just, tell you how to live your life, and they have a set way of telling that. You have certain rules and rituals to follow and you cannot, move away from that. But the negative connotation of this word pontifical or pontificate is somebody who's preachy, somebody who's didactic, somebody who's very set in his views, very rigid, and they're not likely to change it for someone else because they feel they are morally superior. Another word for that is sanctimonious. Somebody who feels they are morally superior. All right. So, has anybody seen The Big Bang Theory? So, if you look at Sheldon Cooper or his girlfriend Amy Farrah Fowler, they're both very sanctimonious. They feel they're morally superior than others. All right. And they're very judgmental. Okay. Opposite to this is prosaic. Prosaic is something which is very plain Jane and which lacks originality. ठीक है? Lacking originality. It is not something very creative. It is very plain Jane. Then you have this word called unpretentious. Now, pretentious is a synonym of being opinionated. Somebody who's pretentious, right? They have very high opinion or superiority complex about themselves. These people are pretentious. Unpretentious people are very humble. They keep a very low profile. And the last one is unobtrusive. As the name indicates, these people, again, the people who speak very less keep a very low profile. So, for example, the people who are extremely rich and they have old money, right? Very, very old money. They have been rich for a very, very long time. They'll always try to maintain a very low profile. They'll be very humble if you talk to them. So these kind of people are very unobtrusive. You will actually have to make a lot of effort to make their presence felt. Is that okay? So we have the words pontifical, pretentious, sanctimonious, prosaic, unpretentious, and unobtrusive. All right, let's move on to the fourth word of the day, Epicurean. Epicurean is actually also a philosophy given by Epicurus. Okay? So more about that later. I hope you heard about him, and your time starts now. Do I have a this on this? I don't know if I have a picture on this. I should be having. Oh, I have a very good picture related to Epicurean. You'll be in splits when you see the picture. So wait for the picture. All right. Anybody? 4 का B, 4 का D. आई हाय सयानी गूगल कर लिए क्या सारे आंसर? हाँ? Okay. Yes. Fourth is option number D. Sybaritic. Sybaritic, a person who's very self-indulgent. I can use that word for myself. And no, it's not B, Mishra. But I will definitely be showing your photo here, Mishra. So be prepared. And Bhatt is also right. All right, Sayani, that was just a joke. So, Sybaritic is a word for Epicurean. Epicurus gave a philosophy of hedonism. ठीक है? जिसको चारवाक सिद्धांत भी बोलते हैं हिंदी में, which says pleasure is everything in life. क्योंकि मरने के बाद क्या होता है किसी ने नहीं देखा. So whatever pleasures you have, you should enjoy them, all the sensual pleasures. And in Hindi it is called उधार का घी पियो और मस्त रहो. ठीक है, द चारवाक सिद्धांत जिसको हम बोलते हैं. So Epicurean means somebody who's an Epicurean means he is given into hedonistic tendencies, which was very which was one of the qualities, or which was something very similar which happened to the late Mughal rulers. They were Epicureans, so they did not actually bother much to check out what is happening in their territory, and we lost India to the British. So that's there. Ascetic is the opposite of Epicurean. Abstemious is somebody who eats, drinks, or consumes all the indulgent things in a very limited quantity. Somebody who can be very abstinent about things, who knows how to control his urges, all the basic urges. Hair shirt. So hair shirt is actually what used to happen. Why this word is here? So in the earlier times, the monks or the saints, they used to wear clothes made up of hair. So since they were ascetics, they were called hair shirts also. So you can say something like, this person has a hair shirt existence. He makes so much little money, or such little money that he's having a bare existence or a hair shirt existence. So the picture for this is, which you can relate very much, is this. Mishra, your picture coming up, as I told you. So Sybaritic, Epicurean, all right, Panderer, and hedonistic are all words which are related to somebody who's very self-indulgent. Even people who eat a lot. So a glutton is also a person who's very indulgent. Right? Sayani, perfect pick, na? Okay. So the opposites or the antonyms are ascetics, hair shirts, and abstemious. Is that okay? Dusra is Siddharth. माल्या, उसका बेटा, ठीक है? तभी तेरे को बोल रही थी तेरा फोटो आने वाला है मिश्रा, तू समझता ही नहीं है। चलो, so let's move on to the last, second last, stoic. So this is your 5th word and your time starts now. मिश्रा इज लाइक ये क्या हो गया मैम, गलत गलत एग्जाम्पल में यूज करती है। Yes, Prasanna, he's a fugitive offender, but actually I'll tell you something. He has said that he's willing to pay, but please don't extradite him. That's what he's saying. He's saying I'm willing to pay, but people are bent upon bringing him back because of the image issues. So let's do this. Okay. What photo do I have for this one? Oh, I have another glamorous photo for you, but I don't know. Have you guys seen the movie Anand? It's a classic by Rajesh Khanna. So you'll be able to relate to it. And Sayani does it right. It's option number A. Yes. Phlegmatic. Okay. That person is somebody who's not too given into emotions. They can act like as if nothing has happened. They can be very calm and composed about whatever else is happening around them. So like a stoic person. All right? देखा है, मिश्रा ने देखा है. Okay. So let's just go to that picture and relate to it. So Anand was very phlegmatic. Whatever was going in his life, he knew he had incurable cancer, but he ended up saying कि भाई जिंदगी लंबी नहीं बड़ी होनी चाहिए. ठीक है? So phlegmatic is equal to stoic. Okay. There was another word related to this. Do you guys remember? We did that word yesterday. That was stolid. Stolid is a word used for somebody who doesn't show too many emotions. People consider him to be cold or emotionless. Yes, Prasanna, very good, very good. Yes, but it's a beautiful movie. And I end up crying, so I don't watch it very often. Now, there were 3 other words. Tempestuous. Alright. Then you have verklempt. Have any of you seen the movie The Professor? Johnny Depp's movie? Yes, Mishra. Now everybody is becoming nostalgic. Sab Rajesh Khanna banenge yahan pe. Okay. And the last one is schmaltzy. Okay. So tempestuous, verklempt and schmaltzy. Okay. So, we have tempestuous word is often used for romances. Like these two people had a tempestuous romance. For example, between Romeo and Juliet, between Hir and Ranjha. Why? It's a very stormy, very passionate relationship. So it's the opposite of stolid or phlegmatic. They are very impassive. This, when you talk about something which is tempestuous, it's a very stormy, very passionate relationship. Okay? Full of passion or impassioned, you can say. So tempestuous is the opposite of stoic, phlegmatic or stolid. That's one. Verklempt. So verklempt is usually used for women who are too overcome by emotions, like Nirupama Roy. Always crying. Every single movie. ठीक है? आज भी we make jokes about that. That भाई ये कौन निरुपमा रॉय बने जा रहा है? So verklempt are people who are too overcome by emotions, right? Very, very heavily feeling them. That's verklempt. And if you've seen the movie The Professor by Johnny Depp, it's available on Prime, I guess. So he uses that word there. That's where I got the idea of keeping it here. So there is this woman in his class who tries to always bring in, ideas about feminism and LGBTQ community when he's trying to teach English literature. So after he has figured out or discovered that he has cancer, he doesn't give two hoots about it and he tells that woman to just shut up because he's really not interested in the emotions of others, because the whole movie is about Johnny Depp giving into the sadness of being a cancer patient, how he's not able to fight back. Oh yeah, Sayani has a very good example. I should have put it here. Yes, Neha Kakkar. She'll cry for everything. I don't know who's Alika Kubal. I don't know, Kunal. I don't know her. Okay, the last one is Schmalzi. Schmalzi is, have you watched Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum? You know, we have certain movies which we call tear jerkers. Okay, it'll be like the entire theater will be crying. So they will bring out all your sentiments, very, very overtly sentimental movie. So if you watch the beginning of Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, I don't know. I was just watching it the other day. I was just rewatching it actually. No, I wasn't rewatching it. That will be a bad thing to say. I was watching it and all I could see was everybody keeps crying after every 5 minutes or something, you know, every single person. Okay, so that's your tearjerkers are overtly small g movies, overtly small g peoples who'll cry for no significant reasons. So there's another word for it called tearjerkers. Okay? Tearjerkers are usually talk about films are called tearjerkers because they can bring out a lot of emotions in you. There have been good movies. For example, Tare Zameen Par was a real tearjerker. All right. With that, sorry, let's move on to the last word of the day. Brilliant. So your time starts now. This one should be very easy for everybody. Okay? Okay. Sayali, do you remember it? Because we've already discussed this word. So do you remember it? I discussed it when we discussed the tweet of Shashi Tharoor in class. There were so many words. Everybody got this? All right. Very good, Tiwari. Very good, Mishra. Very good, Sayani. Yes, it's perspicacious. Somebody who's very insightful. Somebody who can reach quick conclusions, right? So that person is brilliant. He has a lot of insights. Oh, very good. Very good, Sayani. That's amazing. Finish the whole book. Give a pat on your back. I'm not there, so I can't do it. Give a pat on your back. Wonderful. Okay. So brilliant is perspicacious. Let's discuss A, C and D. Okay? So I have a treat here for you. It's not a movie, but it's something we've all loved over the years. I'm sure all of you must be identifying with this person. He's an epitome of brilliant, being brilliant, right? Of being charming and brilliant at the same time. Chacha Chaudhary. So, brilliant ka synonym is perspicacious. All right. Now, I think there's something wrong with the spelling. Yeah. And antonyms is imbecile. Imbecile means somebody who's stupid, fool. Clod actually has two meanings. A lump of mud is also called a clod, and a stupid person is also called a clod because he's as good as a lump of sand. All right. And the last word, what was there? Merry Andrew. Merry Andrew is actually not a person. Merry Andrew actually means a clown or somebody who will just dress up or do something crazy which will make you laugh. So those people are the Merry Andrews of your group. If you have a friend group, you'll always have that person who is very funny or who will make you tickle. So Merry Andrew actually means a clown. Okay? So with this, we are done with our vocab. We have done our sentence completions. Let's move on to a different form of sentence completion. Okay? Wherein we'll be figuring out the last sentence or the conclusive sentence. ठीक है, ready everybody? चले? So there we go. Okay, so question number 16 to 20. This is from CAT 2006. I'll give you 3 to 3.5 minutes to solve this one. All right, and then we'll discuss it. So choose the one that completes the passage. Your time starts now. This one's pretty easy actually. Prasanna says option number 3. Tiwari, are you able to follow it? All right, this one's easy actually. I didn't know CAT इतना आसान था 2006 में. मेरे टाइम तो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट था यार. Anyways, 1.5 minutes over. I need some more answers. फटाफट बताओ. Sayani also says 3. Anybody with a different opinion? 1, 2 और 4 भी options हैं भाई, and 5 भी है. Yes, Sayani, I did. CAT के बिना SP जैन वगैरह कैसे मिलते हैं? SP जैन, MDI CAT के बिना नहीं मिल सकते ना? For all these papers, TIS, CAT, MyCat, MDI, IMT, you have to have, you have to give CAT. तभी calls आते हैं. Okay, so everybody is done here. Yes, option 3 is correct. Anybody has any doubt? 3 क्यों है और कोई और ऑप्शन नहीं है? Is everybody clear? Or do I need to explain this one? Why it is option 3 and why it is not something else? All 5, 6 of my students. Any doubts? Because option number 3 will be the answer, because you are simply explaining what you're talking about, that you are giving a suggestion. You're not actually imposing rules on people. So you're qualifying the example that you have just given in the previous sentence. Yes, Mishra, my CAT has its own exam, but you have to submit your CAT percentile, CAT, XAT or GMAT percentile if you have to apply. Okay? Okay. So I'll go ahead with the 17th one, because I guess everybody got the 16th right. Again, something from 2006. This one is a little tricky. If you get it right, very good. If you don't get it right, I'm here. Yes, that's what I said, Sayani. You also need to give either CAT or XAT. You need. So usually people end up applying wherever they get better percentiles. So to increase your chances in my CAT. Time starts now. Okay, so did you guys enjoy the vocab session? Because I enjoyed it again. So let me know the feedback, because vocab is very, very important. Without a good vocab, it will be difficult to sail through most of the VARC wala thing. Okay, you need to understand what is written. It looks like a long-term goal. मुझे पता है कि बच्चों को पसंद नहीं आता है when I talk about the long-term things, but it's actually going to help you a lot. Not just now, but later on also. People who become leaders have excellent vocabularies. All right, Sayani. Prasanna, you've already done the previous year's questions, right? Is it not? That's why you're able to answer it. Okay. Another 45 seconds. I need some answers quickly. Acha, Prasanna, you were asking me something yesterday on and or. What was that about? Because I didn't quite understand your doubt, and I remembered it only after the class ended. Mishra says option number 4. Okay. But Mishra has retracted. Okay. Okay. Mishra again says option number 4. Now, guys, all right. I guess we have the last 45 seconds. Tawari, you want to go with the majority? Or you have a different answer in your mind? if you're starting, okay, Prasanna, if you're starting a sentence with and, then you will have to use a comma. Okay. The first variety of using a comma and then putting then starting another sentence with and, I haven't seen the use very often. But what I can remember or what I can put together is maybe when the first sentence is an independent clause, then maybe you can put a comma and then proceed with the next thing. Or if you are not an independent clause exactly, but if you're trying to actually address what you have said in the first part of the passage, and if you're trying to augment it using the conjunction of and, going further, elaborating further, then maybe you can use a comma to pause. So these are the only things I can think of right now. All right, Tawari says 4. Okay. So let's discuss this. The time's almost about up and I don't think I'm receiving any more answers. So Tawari, why 4? And why not 5? Why not 3? Why not 2? Why not 1? Tawari, first things first. Why it will not be option 4 is because anywhere in the passage, we are not talking about innovations in the mobile industry. ठीक है? इसीलिए option 4 तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होगा. ठीक है? We are not talking about innovations anywhere in the passage. So Mishra and Akansha, ये हमारा thought है कि इस वजह से innovation नहीं हो रहा है. This is how we experience it. But in the passage, have they ever talked about innovations? No. What they are saying is people have a lot of distrust because we don't really have a good communication line between everybody who's involved in the supply chain. ठीक है? And that's why we try to hide information just to maximize our gains. That's one thing. Now, as a result, deal making becomes rampant. Now, there is no deal making. Again, you don't find that word in the entire passage. So, option number 1 is cut out. Option number 2 and 3. Again, we are never talking about a supply chain here. Exactly. We are just talking about adjusting the demand with the supply. We are not talking about the entire value chain, starting from the factory to the dealer to the customer. So, option 2 is crossed out. 3 and 5 look to be a little promising. Has anybody used option number 3? I don't guess so. People have used option number 5. Now, as I told you, why are they hiding information? They are hiding information to improve their bargaining position. And why do you want to increase your bargaining position? So that you have some profit out of the entire transaction that you're doing. Either if it is between the factory and the dealer or it is between the dealer and the customer. In that case, but if you're not sharing complete information, then everybody loses out on the information and the collective gain which could have been made if the entire value chain was completely streamlined. So basically, you are trying to maximize your profit, but in the long run, you are losing. So option number 5 becomes your most competent option. And as a result, everyone treats the other as an adversary rather than as an ally. No, we are not talking here about, we are talking here about mistrust. Yes, but we are not talking about people becoming frenemies or enemies. That is something we're not talking about. So it's out of scope of the answer. Yes, Sayani. Yes, I understand your inhibition. That's why, or your doubt. That's why I said, we are saying there is distrust, but we are not saying they have become enemies, right? We are not using very strong or specific words like they have become adversaries rather than an ally. They don't have to become an ally or an adversary. They just have to work together properly. For example, when I teach you and you come to the class, I don't have to become friends with you or enemies with you. All that we have to do is we should have an information symmetry. You should tell me what problems you have. I should tell you what I'm going to teach you next. And I should handle your doubts carefully. And that's about it. We should work in sync. So it's a similar passage here. Is that okay, Sayani? All right. Question number 18. And your time starts now. This one is actually pretty easy. Sayani, is it clear? Okay. Answer is 3. I'll tell you the answer. Answer is not 3, but anybody else? सयानी क्या कर रहे हैं हम? मैम 1, मैम 2, मैम 3, मैम 4, मैम 5, एक ना एक तो सही होगा ही यार. Mishra says option number 4. Siddharth says option number 2. Okay. You still have 45 seconds to go. So choose your answer. Last 45 seconds. If anybody wants to change their answers, want to come up with better answers, and Tiwari, if you will not attempt, you will not learn. You texted me yesterday saying, ma'am, isme dikkat aa rahi hai. Unless you are attempting questions, I will never be able to teach you. You have to make the mistakes to get the things right. It's very basic. I call you Mishra only. It's only when Ankit is there I call you Mishra too. Okay, I'll call you Mishra 1 only. But I'll call you Mishra only, Siddharth. I don't call you Siddharth. It's too long. You want me to call you Siddharth? I'll call you Siddharth. Tiwari says option number 1. All right. Let's discuss why or which option does it have to be. So what they're saying is that comparative advantage of US lies in its military force. Good enough. We all know that. US or anybody else, they do not consider diplomacy and international law to be always followed. In fact, they feel that they are a nuisance and should only be used when they want to have an advantage against the enemy, right? In fact, every active player in world affairs, for example, US, China, Japan, anybody else, they outwardly, that's what the passage is trying to say, profess to seek only peace and to prefer negotiation to violence and coercion. There was somebody here. The last question, Sayani, uska answer 5 tha, Sayani. Option number 5 was the answer. ठीक है? Okay. So there was somebody asking me today, I don't know who that was. Sayani, was it you? कि छोटे passages करूँ? No, I think that was Vaidehi. कि छोटे passages करें या बड़े passages करें. See, it looks like an easy passage और इसका answer भी आराम से निकल जाएगा. So we really can't distinguish it that way. ठीक है? Talking about this, they are saying these people outwardly, they only say that they want peace, everybody wants peace, and they prefer to negotiate instead of violence and coercion. So if you understand the passage, what he's trying to say, just like the passage we did the other time, that there are two opposing point of views coming. They are saying that outwardly they will say, oh yes, diplomacy should be there, international law should be there, and we should all vouch for peace. But inwardly, they actually believe in violence and coercion. And in fact, that is why the United States has a very high comparative advantage, because it has a huge military force, a very powerful military force. Now, having said that, look at the 4 or 5 options that we have here. All of them talk about lifting the veil on the hypocrisy of the nations involved. That is fine. When unmasked, history tells us blah 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 blah, veil is lifted. That is fine. Now, if you go by option number 5, such nations reveal a penchant for the use of force. Penchant means an inclination or a proclivity or a liking. Okay? For the use of force. Now, the passage nowhere mentions that they want to use force. इसलिए ये नहीं हो सकता है, कहीं भी outwardly नहीं दिया है. It's our interpretation. And if we have to actually put it as a conclusion, it will be a very subtle thing to put it in the conclusion, because nowhere has it been written very clearly that they want to use force. Then if we actually end it with this, it will be very contrary to the sentence immediately preceding it. So whatever we are writing as the conclusive sentence has to be very, very subtle, because the tone of the passage is very subtle. It is attacking the countries which are behaving in hypocrisy in a very subtle manner, in a very hidden manner, latent manner. Option number 4. However, history tells us that peace is professed by those who intend to use violence. Now, similar thing. You are giving a conclusion based on your own experiences. They want to use violence. ऐसा तो यहाँ पे कहीं लिखा ही नहीं है. History has shown that many of these nations do not practice what they preach. ये भी कहीं नहीं लिखा है. Democracy has often been used as a mask by nations which intend to use force, which is same as option number 5. If 1 and 5 were the answers, then you could have used anybody of them. So that actually, disqualifies them from being an answer, because it is essentially the same thing which has been written. Now, however, diplomacy ko nahi bol rahe hain. Diplomacy has often been used as a mask. No. When the veil is lifted, we commonly see that diplomacy is understood as a disguise for the rule of force. ये बहुत ही mild sentence है, which is saying when they say we'll have a diplomatic, meeting and we'll discuss things. So वहाँ जाके it's like bullying each other. They go, they meet and they say you have to do this because we are a better power. And the tone is stern, or you put sanctions on some other person. That's what they call diplomacy. You stop their people from coming inside your country. You banish their cultural notions. Okay? For example, what happened in the case of Iran and US? They did not declare a war. They did not use overt force. What they did? They applied sanctions. कि भाई तुमको रखेंगे ही नहीं, बात ही नहीं करेंगे तुमसे. इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस लगा दिए हैं. ठीक है, या हर जगह बैन हो जाता है for your people to do business. You stop exporting things to them. So diplomacy is a disguise for the rule of force. That means diplomacy is a euphemism that is given to the use of force. But we are not saying that they intend to use force. We are saying when they talk about diplomacy, they are basically trying to say that might is right, or the bigger animal will eat the smaller animal, and this is the diplomacy you're supposed to understand. Is that okay? Now, let's move on to question number 19. ये भी बहुत अच्छा passage है. ठीक है? So, your time starts now. Mishra, Tiwari, were you able to follow it? Why it is not option 1? ये भी थोड़ा difficult था. We'll be doing some more questions tomorrow, Tiwari. तो धीरे धीरे थोड़ा सा सिंक बैठने लग जाएगा. बाकी मतलब I really don't have a shortcut to this. We'll have to read a bit more. I'm trying my best, but I really don't know how to do it the other way. If you feel there is another way I can explain it to you, which will make it better for you to get the answers correct, please let me know. ठीक है? Last 45 seconds. Okay, last 45 seconds. Tiwari says 3. Prasanna says 3. Sayani says 3. Everybody says 3. Okay. All right. इसमें थोड़ा सा problem है. I'll tell you something and you'll bang your head against the wall when I'll tell you the answer. ठीक है? Okay. So first of all, okay. All right. So obviously, option number 2 is out of bounds. They are not talking about cannibalism anywhere. Government's intervention, obviously out of bounds. Now remain option number 1 and 3. Okay. Why not 1? And why not? Why no? It cannot be second because there is no tale of. We are not talking about cannibalism here. ठीक है? This person is a witch, and these feel. If you have seen those movies, I saw this in Vampire Diaries, and even witch hunting happens a lot in India. So either you give up, you understand that you are a witch and you are banished, or you are tortured by the people till you die. So it's not cannibalism here. ठीक है? So obviously this will not happen. And second thing, why option number 2 cannot be the answer, Tiwari? Satirical is, no, it is not too strong. I will tell you why. So see, and the other reason why second option cannot be there is because if you look at the line before it, that she made international waves with award-winning shots such as blah 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 and blah blah blah. So if you're talking about that, then this line here is actually a complete opposite, that whatever work she has done now will fail to conform to the accepted standards of cinema. She had made such kind of movies in the past and they were not only accepted but they were celebrated. So option 2 will not be there. Now, the first thing with option number 3 which is wrong is, first of all, she is already a very celebrated filmmaker. Okay? So it will not throw her more into the arms of stardom. She's already a celebrated filmmaker because she already made international waves. It looks like a very close call, but that is there. Then we are talking about, thus begins this bewilderingly strange yet terrifically sure-footed feature debut. They are talking about two things. Feature debut. A feature debut here means a full-fledged film, feature film. जो हमारी हिंदी सिनेमा की 3-3 घंटे की पिक्चर्स होती हैं, they are called feature films. The rest are either short films or documentaries. So the another problem with this is a short feature. जो short features, the works that she did, what qualifies as short features are the previous ones. This is a feature debut. That means it's the first time she's making a movie of like this form. So it's definitely not a short film. It's actually a feature film. All right. So That is one of the reasons option 3 cannot be the answer, because it's factually not correct. It's a feature debut. That means she's making out a full-blown film. Parable is a short story, but she's making out a full-blown feature film out of that short story. For example, if I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Vivah. So that movie of Shahid Kapoor and Amrita Rao that became very hot shot. So that movie was based out on a small movie that came in the small story that came in a newspaper, that a guy had still married the girl when she got burned, but yet he managed to marry her because he loved her a lot. So here also she found a small story. She's making out a proper film out of it, the feature debut. That's why it's important to read the passage carefully. And that's why option number 1 becomes your answer, because this is a satirical parable of magic and superstition. And the other reason why option number 1 should be your answer, because it completely captures the subject matter of the passage, that the movie is about magic and superstitions, and it actually confirms her promise that she's a promising filmmaker of a fiercely independent vision, because she has previously made international waves by her award-winning short films, and now it further confirms her potential as a great filmmaker. So obviously option 1 is the most suited as a concluding line to the passage. ठीक है तिवारी, does it help? Okay, last question for today, question number 20. This passage is a little difficult, all right, thoda sa tough hai. So I'll give you 3 minutes to solve it and then we'll wind up. तिवारी, सयानी, मिश्रा, understood? समझ आ गया है? Read this passage carefully and you'll get it right in the first shot itself. Don't go by the idiotic names that are given in the passage, but just try to understand what they're trying to say about the animated movies, and I'm sure you'll get it right the first time. .5 minutes over. Oh. Mishra, you have an answer yet? Last 45 seconds. इस क्वेश्चन के साथ I would want you to do one more thing. Try to tell me the summary of the passage. हम actually थोड़े से summary वाले questions करेंगे which will help you get to the crux of the passage, because एक बार crux समझ आ जाएगा तो the rest of the thing becomes very very easy. All right, time's up. भाई एक जने तो आंसर दे दो. मिश्रा, तिवारी, सयानी, प्रसन्ना. Okay. Option number 2. All right. Tiwari also goes for 2. Okay. मुझे लगा था. Okay. Let's discuss this. Nitesh says option number 3. Okay. Anybody goes for option number 4? किसी का option number 4 है answer? How it should conclude, the passage should conclude. And Nitesh, you're late, so you wouldn't quite understand. But the question was, how will we conclude the passage? Okay, एक बार देखते हैं. So the crux of the passage is, there is this person who is watching a movie called Spirited Away, supposedly an animated movie. ठीक है? So she says, she or he says that they have watched the movie for the 3rd time, and now they are actually getting on, they are kind of understanding the feeling part of the movie, right? On the earlier viewings, that means the first and the second time that this person watched the movie, they were really overwhelmed with the imagination of the story, right? How far they have gone on to imagining things. For example, if you have watched Chronicles of Narnia, if you have watched Harry Potter, if you have watched Frozen, if you have watched Ratatouille, you will see that there is a lot of imagination. If you've watched Ratatouille, it's a very famous movie about a rat which can cook and can really cook well. So the imagination is that the rat believes in himself and then goes on and starts preparing meals, and his hand movements and everything is shown in great detail. So this time she says she understands the boundless imagination of the story, but this time she also figures out that there are a lot of unnecessary elements in the background. If you're animating, right, you will not just have a character and you will make it walk or sleep or eat or dance. You will have a lot of other things in the background. For example, even in the movies, you have a lot of background. You have the best example of this is Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movies. His sets are, more expensive than the actors themselves. Whether it is Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam or it is Devdas, his sets are elaborate, right? So similarly, in this movie, she's feeling that the animated versions and animations were very, very elaborate, and they could have maybe reduced some of the animations, they were not required. However, finally, she actually understands that the way he has used the space liberally, whatever space he had on the screen to show the animations, he has used this liberally. He has actually animated a lot of parts and given a lot of complex animation so that the movie comes alive. I mean, imagine ki Ratatouille mein the hands of the rat couldn't move, or he couldn't smell, or if the animation was not good enough, we wouldn't really like the movie. So then she starts understanding that if that is the crux of the passage, that animation, yes, it is a very painstaking process, but you need to actually have a very complex canvas and you need to animate a great number of things for everything to come alive. That's the crux of the passage. Yes, Sayani, Toy Story also. So if we are talking about this, then first, but he personally draws thousands of frames by hand. We are not talking about him drawing anything. We are just saying whatever canvas you give to him, whatever drawing space you give to him, he uses it liberally. He tries to animate objects as much as he can, or he tries to bring in complexity to the scene. Okay? So obviously option number 1 is crossed out. Option number 3, despite having a rich plot with developed characters, Spirited Away was not made with a script, blah, blah, blah. We're not talking about the script anywhere. So option number 3 is crossed out. Likewise. Nitesh, that's why option number 3 is crossed out. And Sayani is right. It's actually option number 4. Now, why it cannot be option number 2? Movies about specific characters in a detailed world are spellbinding because they make no attempt to cater to us. We have never talked about catering to us any time. We are just saying that movies, if they have a detailed character sketch, for example, even if you watch some series, why do you like a series? Because people eventually grow at you as you end the series. For example, in the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper, from being a very huge asshole and somebody who's very unemotional grows into a person who understands other people's emotions. Or if you talk about another series called Lucifer, which I was watching on Netflix, or if you have watched Friends, each character starts growing. So that's there, but we are never talking here about catering to the audience. So definitely that's out of scope. That's why option number 2 cannot be the answer, because it is out of scope. We're never talking about catering to the audience. Fourth, however, makes the cut, because what they are, I think why you couldn't actually pinpoint option number 4 is because option number 4, you are not able to understand what he's trying to say. In option number 4, what this person is saying is, we don't pay a lot of attention to what is there in the background, okay? But we kind of know that they are there. For example, I don't know if you guys also watch videos when these videos come up, that 10 mistakes in this movie, 20 mistakes in that movie. For example, if you have seen pretentious movie reviews, you will see that they are wearing, I think that movie or some other, they are wearing wrong clothes for the wrong sports. They are wearing basketball clothes in a hockey field in cold atmosphere, right? Or when we make fun of those movies that people are wearing chiffon sarees in that cold. So we are saying that these things are present. We know that they are there, but we do not pay much attention. And that's why this viewer also, she started paying attention to them after her third viewing, that okay, these objects were unnecessary in the imagination. However, these very things which you feel are unnecessary, they reinforce the remarkable precision of the fantasy worlds that Miyazaki has built. For example, even if you go for the movie Harry Potter, she has a background story for everything. There is a detailing of everything. The maps that they use to traverse the entire Hogwarts, that's so detailed. Every story is connected to a backend. There are props which you really enjoy. There is a 934th station, there's a trolley, there's a train, everything is there. Every prop is important. That's what this entire option number 4 is about. So that's why option number 4 is your answer, because it is kind of subsuming or summarizing the entire passage in the 2 lines. Is that okay? Everybody sorted? So I'll pack it up from here. All right. And good night. So we completed our class today. I'll share the PDFs with you and see you guys tomorrow. Everybody? All right, Tawari.